All right, piss and vinegar day 180. Upper right side torso day. Chest, shoulders, and back, basically. Oh. So same deal. Numerous sets. Proximity to failure. Oh, shit. Oh. So I've taken the last 2 days off just because I haven't been sleeping at all, really, due to pain and tiredness and just lethargy. I just didn't see the point. I mean, right now training's a little bit mediocre regardless, just because I won't be really progressing or anything right now, maintaining. So while I'm maintaining, I don't have like the drive to train every single day, which I have been quite a bit, but last 2 days just been busy and lethargic and just not onto it. But gonna get a session in today, get the ball rolling again. Yeah. So today I wanted to talk about dealing with muscle loss or strength loss or losing some, physical capacity or losing your identity of being a big, strong dude, right? Just anything tying into that, because that's what I'm doing right now. I'm losing muscle and strength, and yeah, it's a bit depressing, but I think I'm handling it well. And I think there's a few different reasons I'm handling it well. And I just want to kind of talk about them in case anyone's going through that right now. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you're injured and you're losing muscle. Maybe you're depressed and you can't train and you're losing muscle. Maybe you just got off anabolic steroids because you realized how stupid it is to take them and you're losing muscle. Whatever it might be, it can be a tough time for a lot of people. A big one is the dudes that get on gear and then eventually one day they have to get off, and it's really difficult to get off, and then they don't get off at all and they keep going and they just like fucking die. That's a big one. But just in general, losing muscle for whatever circumstance. Maybe you're just aggressively cutting weight. Maybe you're having a hard time cutting, you're losing muscle and strength, and it's just annoying, and it makes it really hard to then not want to bulk back up. And I've been in that situation numerous times in my life where I'll cut for a little bit and then I get depressed because I'm losing strength and size, and then I bulk up again, and then I get too fat, and then I'm like, oh, but I'm so fucking fat and disgusting looking. Let me cut back down. But then I can't, and I'm like, shit, I'm losing strength and size, and it's depressing. And I mean, there's ways you can get around that. There's a way around just about anything. But if there isn't a way around it, you have to accept it, and that's what I want to talk about today. So that's what we'll be talking about, is my experience with muscle loss, inability to train correctly, all that sort of stuff. So again, I'm just doing 4 sets of however many fucking reps. I don't really give a shit about the weight or reps right now. Just focusing on getting the muscle contracted and going a rep or two out of failure. Really short rest intervals. I'm taking like 30 seconds in between sets, but maybe take a bit longer today because we'll be talking. So first things first is identifying why you really give a shit about your muscles, right? Like for the longest time, and I'm willing to admit this, until recently, I would train to get bigger because I was insecure. I would feel more confident, or at least I thought I'd feel more confident in different situations. If I had bigger muscles, I'd feel more secure around other men. I'd feel more secure about women. I'd feel whatever, like I just felt more confident. And to an extent, I mean, muscles are a double-edged sword. You start becoming insecure that you're not big enough, and that you go out to an event and you think, man, if I was just that much bigger, people would be respecting me more right now, or people would want to talk to me more right now, or that guy wouldn't have gave me that shit earlier. If I was Ronnie Coleman sized, he wouldn't have gave me that shit. And there's truth to a lot of that stuff, but it's like, what's the point? Like, does that shit really matter? You know what I mean? Like, for sure, it matters a bit, but you don't need to obsess about it. And now that I'm older and got other things going for me, which is kind of the point here that I'll get to, I don't really care as much about how big my muscles are. It doesn't really mean that much. Like, there are plenty of guys who don't have any muscle but can control a room with their intellect and charisma and confidence. Like, don't get me wrong. It's harder to do that if you don't have a physical commanding presence. I mean, if you got let's think of a physical specimen. Francis Ngannou, the UFC fighter / boxer. Francis Ngannou, he could be mentally handicapped, but you put him in a room, no one's going to give him any shit. People are going to give him a shit ton of respect. Men are going to look up to him, women are going to look up to him because he is fucking huge. He's 6'4" and he's massive. But, not everyone can be 6'4" and fucking huge and also a, champion boxer / UFC fighter. So yeah, it helps, but, you have to be realistic. And ultimately, if you're trying to build muscle to control a room in that way, I mean, a lot of people that won't even cut it. So, and not even just controlling a room. It could be, trying to get respect from your family members. Bigger muscles means your siblings and your parents might respect you more. In my experience, I don't think it really means that much. People will admire your progress and stuff, but especially for naturals, you're never really going to be so big where it's like, what the fuck, look at this guy, he's a freak, you know what I mean? And that's something I started to realize more recently, is as a natural, you just can't get that crazy big. You can't be the guy that walks around the street and people turn their heads and look at you unless you have incredible genetics. It's like, people might look at you and go, that guy's in great shape, but they're not going to go, wow, that's crazy. That's like steroids that does that. That's genetics that does that. So ultimately understanding that if you are losing muscle, it's not a huge deal. Your muscles don't mean that much. There's much more to life than muscles. So that's the first thing really that I've been thinking about, is just like, is it really that big a deal? And then also I am still maintaining quite a bit of muscle elsewhere. Like my forearms, this forearm, I feel like it's getting bigger. I feel like this right arm's getting bigger, even though I'm not training it that much or that hard. I think the body overcompensates. And I keep looking at this forearm, going, what the fuck, is this shit getting bigger? Like, it's weird. I don't know, the body just works like that. It understands that this side's all fucked up. This muscle has lost like easily 3 inches. I got it uncasted. I got it out of the brace the other day, and it was just like a sausage that someone just stepped on, but it was tiny in the bicep. But in the same boat, like weirdly enough, and you wouldn't think that a muscle could shrink that much, because if you don't train for 3 weeks, which I haven't, yeah, you might lose a little size, but you don't lose fucking 3 inches to your arms in 3 weeks. But the body understands that there's trauma there's a bunch of cortisol and just about a bunch of catabolism going on in my body as a whole. That part of my body is just fucking shrinking. The body is a smart system. Whereas this arm, I feel like it's getting bigger and more matured, but who knows, maybe when this arm heals, this arm will shrink. I gotta figure out a way to biohack this arm so I can continue hold these gains that I've supposedly, or I, maybe psychosomatically think I've gotten. That was far more than 30 seconds rest. It's a bit easier to stabilize if I get my butt off the bench. All right, do one more set of incline press. Another thing for me is, like, apart from not worrying about my muscles, my muscle size as much as what commands respect for myself anymore as much. Obviously, I'm still a bit devastated in other ways. I just don't want to lose muscle. I enjoy training correctly, or hard, not necessarily correctly, but just I enjoy training hard and without any issue. And obviously, I like being big and muscular and imposing. It's just, I'd be lying if I said I didn't. Because it does have its benefits. I'm just telling you, as a guy who's 90 kilos and pretty muscular, or was pretty muscular 2 months ago, a month ago, still am decently, but losing the muscle, it's obvious. Like, people will look at you a bit differently. People will respect you a bit differently. You carry yourself differently. You feel more capable in any sort of situation. But it's not the be-all end-all, man. Like, there's so many other things that you need to be focusing on. Right now I'm trying to focus much more on my business, or reading, or a bunch of other areas to level myself up in, not just my muscle size. And in saying that too, I'm still training. I'm still training my every other muscle except for my right upper torso and extremity. I'm still training legs. I got a crazy good leg session the other day with that leg machine that I just bought. My arm seemingly is fucking growing on my right side. I think I'm learning more about training through this experience. I'm starting to, hold some slightly less dogmatic views about high intensity training. I've always approached high intensity with a bit more volumistic approach than the average high intensity guy. I always think it's better to go beyond failure and overkill things. And now I'm thinking that maybe there is virtue in doing numerous sets to failure. I know it's blasphemous, but it's still high intensity. If you're doing, 2 to 3 sets, let's say even if you do 50 sets, if you do 50 sets to failure, it's still high intensity training. The definition of high intensity is just that you're going proximity to failure, if not to failure and beyond. The more, basically, like the ultimate high intensity training is, a Tom Platz approach where you do like 50 fucking sets of squats to failure, and then you don't train for 2 weeks like Tom Platz. That's the most intense training. High intensity training by nature is not that fucking hard. The name is disingenuous, because you're in the gym for like fucking 20 minutes max, and you're doing 1 set to failure. It's really quite easy. It's intense only in essence of the sense that you are going to failure. But volume is more intense on your brain because it's way longer, more boring, more harder, more everything. So, by all means, if I start doing more and more sets, people might think, oh, this guy's not high intensity. I'll be fucking high intensity. It'll be more intensity than ever before because I've been numerous sets to failure. So that's another thing. I've been thinking about doing numerous sets, trying that out, seeing if certain muscles are, respond to a bit more volume or just a bit more work, basically, time and attention. I don't like the word volume because, I'm not a Dorian Yates. I'm not a Mike Mentor. I'm taller, and I'm less genetically inclined to building muscle, especially on certain muscle groups. So my chest, for example, I really am starting to think it probably needs a bit more work than just 1 set. For Mike Mentor and Dorian, they could do one set per body part, but also they're on steroids. So, new times, new things. It isn't until things fall apart do you make a change. Another thing I'll say is, if you're losing muscle for whatever reason, whether it be you're injured or you're cutting weight, or maybe you're just having a really fucked up life situation and you just simply cannot get in the gym, or you're not training very hard or consistently, when you do get back to training properly, whether it be increasing the calories again because you finish your cut eventually, or you are injured and it's going to be 2 to 3 months of suboptimal training and then you have to train and then you'll train hard again, or you have to get over your depression and then in 3 months time when your depression's over, you start training hard again, the muscle will come back. If you have muscle memory, like if you have been bigger, it can then come back. Unless you obviously, you know, you've been blasting trenbolone and fucking HGH and shit for the last 15 years and then you get off it, yeah, you're not gonna get the same muscle back. But even then, well, let's say you're a guy that's been on steroids for a long time, you're going to be bigger than the naturals on your TRT dose, even if that's if you need TRT. But if you've been doing tests and shit for a long time, you'll need TRT to have normal testosterone levels. Otherwise, you'll be small and puny because you fucking crushed your testicles, basically. But in saying that, because you're now on, say, testosterone replacement therapy now, because you know you can't blast anymore, but you can take TRT. TRT is going to have you higher testosterone than the average bloke, and then also you have more nuclei, and you probably induce more hyperplasia. You have a larger sarcoplasmic reticulum. There's a reason why bodybuilders, even after they're off gear, look fucking huge if they keep training correctly, because they just have enhanced their genetics through nuclei overload through the fucking wazoo. If you don't know what that is, look it up. So even if you're a dude that's been on steroids, yeah, you might not be the same as when you were fucking, you know, blasting 500 tests and 250 tren and fucking pinning HGH every week, but you'll be bigger than the average natural, that's for sure. And then, you know, if you've been cutting for a long time, now you'll be all shredded and you can do a bulk. It's just, when you bulk, you're gonna bulk up and it's gonna be awesome. You have to have yin and yang in life. It's not all fucking, you know, flowers and rainbows. I guess you have to cut and you have to be miserable and you have to lose weight and lose muscle and, well, mostly sarcoplasmic density, because you're not gonna lose myofibrillar size, really. You're just gonna dry out a little bit. And if you do it right, if you do high intensity training and you sort of go low carb, you will, yeah, lose a little bit of size, but you'll probably continue increasing strength if you do it like I did with my cutting program, where I lost 20 kilos. I gained strength over that 20 kilos as an intermediate. So you can gain strength if you do high intensity correctly. There's always a way of doing things that are quite a bit better than you might expect. In my case, if you're injured, you know, I'm still training. I'm still growing my arm. My arm's fucking growing. My legs are gonna grow. I guarantee you my legs are gonna grow. Now that I'm training them with heaps of frequency with this new machine, legs are gonna grow. Yeah, my left arm's fucking shrinking. My, you know, chest and back might shrink a little bit, but at the same time, it might not, because you get the hypercompensation effect where you train one side, the other side has more neurological adaptations to match, and that can maintain muscle. And if it doesn't, 3 months from now, I'll get the muscle back. Time goes pretty quick. Before I know it, I'll be back to lifting weights again with full form. The only real downside for me is I gotta be wary about this bicep. I gotta make sure I don't re-tear it again. Make sure I don't tear this one, because there's tendonitis in this bicep, but ultimately, you're gonna be fine. The muscle, if you're losing it, it'll come back even stronger, even bigger. It's just gonna take some time, and in the meantime, focus on something else. Or don't, keep training. Keep training as much as you can. If you're depressed and you can't train much, train once a week. Do high intensity, full body. The one good day you get a week, or the 2 good days you get a week when you're depressed, because, you know, I've been depressed before. Normally you get, some days are a little bit better. That day, go to the gym, do high intensity training. Probably get the best gains of your life training once a week, doing high intensity training, because you're super recuperated. Buddy, you gotta get off, buddy. So where there's a will, there's a way. Shit. Whew. The current diet I'm doing to maintain as much muscle whilst trying to stay lean at the same time is a Vince Gironda type diet. So sort of my own spin-off on carnivore with a bit of Vince Gironda implementation or inspiration, or whatever you want to say. But basically, when you're, you know, recovering from an injury specifically, and you're trying not to lose muscle, I think the best course of action is to be in a slight surplus, but not so much that you gain fat, because when you finish your injury, you're going to want to start a bulk, right? You don't want to get into a cut after an injury when you're trying to recuperate this muscle. So it would make sense to bulk to get as much nutrients as possible, but ultimately, if you're eating meat, you're going to get plenty of nutrients. If you're eating mostly just meat, don't eat carbs. You don't need carbs really, because you're not going to be trying to gain that much strength to size. You're going to lose some sarcoplasmic size regardless, and then carbs will only exacerbate that. So it'll be depressing, but the idea with the Vince Gironda diet, right, this is how I'm following it, is basically the steak and eggs diet. So just red meat and eggs. So you're getting maximal micronutrients and minerals and protein. But thus you're sustaining as much muscle as possible, because if you're looking to maintain a slight surplus, you'll gain less weight on meat, because I personally believe if your basal metabolic rate is 2,000 calories, for example, on a ketogenic type diet, it's probably a little higher because it's more thermogenic and it's cleaner and you're getting less glycation. Also, when you're injured, you want to make your tendons as fucking rock solid as possible. Best way to do that is make sure that you're not mixing carbs and proteins together and getting advanced end products or advanced glycation of the tendons, which is partially why I think this bicep tore in the first place, is tendon misuse by mixing sugars and proteins together like a fucking idiot on my bulk. So basically, for 3 days straight, I'm eating just protein. And then on a second or third day, I'll have a starchy carbohydrate on its own, like a potato, to replenish my glycogen storage a little bit, just so I don't get too flat or too high in cortisol, because straight carnivore is ridiculous. For the last 100,000 years of human evolution, we've eaten meat, but we've also eaten berries and fruits, because without external carbohydrates, you'll produce them your own with, protein glycogenesis, where you change proteins into carbs, which requires a shit ton of cortisol, which is not good for your body. It's very catabolic. So every 3 days, when you're starting to run low on glycogen and you're starting to get really flat and feel like shit, I'll have some carbs, recarb a little bit, not too many, maybe 100, 150 grams. And every now and then I'll eat berries for a bit of carbs too. Just not too much to get me out of ketosis perhaps, but enough to have vitamin C so that you have something to break down calcium, which you need for your joints and ligaments and connective tissues. And then also you need vitamin C, because unless you're eating organ meat, which I'm not, you're not going to get vitamin C from the meats. You can only get it from berries, which is how we've eaten until very recently for thousands of years. So that's how I'm dieting at the moment, or that's how my diet is going. Mild surplus, if not maintenance, trying to maintain or sort of recomp essentially, try to maintain muscle while losing fat, not gain muscle. I mean, if I can, maybe I am in my right arm. That might be from my new training where I do numerous sets to failure. Anyway, that's my diet right now. Meat and eggs, carbs every 3 days to replenish glycogen, berries every now and then for antioxidants and vitamin C. And that way I can sort of maintain muscle without getting fatter and fatter. And I can sort of get leaner without losing muscle. I gotta go fat on the bench for this one. Ooh. Oh, fuck. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. What else can you do for muscle retention? If you're injured, something that I've been doing I haven't been doing that. I'll be doing probably tomorrow. I want to start 2.5 weeks in, is isometrics. Now that I can sort of do stuff without my radius where they drilled through with a drill, I can do some isometrics without the pain being too bad. And I'm not too worried about my bicep tearing or whatever. So I'm just going to start doing isometrics where, I do side lateral raise against a wall like this and just contract my side delt because my shoulder's getting a bit flabby. And then I'll put my elbow here and do sort of a lat row sort of thing, but in an isometric form. And then I'll do sort of a isometric with my chest, have maybe my girlfriend or get a wall and push against my front delt, and then just contract my chest as hard as I can, and just do that for like fucking, 20 minutes straight, just back and forth between the muscles, and just try to get as much fatigue as I can in those areas, which will probably heal my bicep because I get more blood flow into those areas. And then also, just strengthening up my hand. I've been doing, my hand's starting to get more range of motion, which is good. Just, basic rehab exercises. Just get blood flow into the area. I've even been considered doing peptides, which would mean I'd lose my natural status, but so be it, because peptides aren't really going to do much as far as hypertrophy goes. I mean, they don't shut down your HPG axis or whatever, the pituitary to testes axis that gets shut off when you take, extrinsic androgenic anabolic hormones. So I was thinking about taking BPC 157 with BP 500, which help basically just enhance glycogen, or not glycogen, sorry, tendons, or having a bit of a mental breakdown here. What are we talking about? Glycogen tendons. It helps increase, collagen synthesis. And that way, just injecting these peptides into the area, there's plenty of research to show and anecdotes to show that it helps massively with joints or just generally helping heal connective tissues. So I'll consider doing that. I'll be fully transparent because, if I do anything that's remotely not natural, you guys should be knowing about it. But, if I lose my natural status for doing that, then so be it. It's not like I'll be taking, peptides or SARMs that increase human growth hormone to test. It's just for collagen. It might have some mild muscle growth benefits, but I don't know about them if there are. So, and get any help I can right now, I'll take it. Without taking SARMs or steroids, obviously. But there's plenty of stuff you can do. But getting movement into there, I've been cold icing this. The recovery process is supposed to be 6 months before I can really start lifting heavy weights again. I guarantee you, give me 8 weeks and I'll be doing some decent amount of weight back on that bicep. 6 weeks in, I'll start doing light weights. I'm going to do blood flow restriction so that I can get more out of less weight. Give it, 3 months, and I'm sure this arm would be the same size as my right again, or close to it, because it's always been smaller. But you have to have faith, because if you haven't got faith, no matter how good the things you're doing, it's not going to work as good as if you have a placebo effect or a faith in that thing. The biokinetic idea of your mind following, or your body following the mind. So, it gets a bit esoteric and, a bit hippy dippy bullshit at a point when I start talking about that kind of stuff. But I truly believe in that kind of stuff, where believing in what you're doing is correct. Otherwise, you just fucking, the placebo effect has been very well documented to work at this point. So I'm going to go see a movie in about an hour and a half. So I might just do back and chest today, and tomorrow I'll do accessories, and then on Friday, or not Friday, the day after that, I'll do arms and shoulders, because, I'd rather just compare those all together rather than try to do shoulders on top of what I've already done today, just because it'll be a very long workout that way, and I haven't got that much time now. Alright, short rest. Oh, fuck. Just gonna do a big drop set now. Cutting it for time. Dude, this is like a fucking upper back annihilator. I'm gonna rest. I'll do a lat pull down, and that'll be it. Oh no, I did rear delts. No, rear delts can be done on shoulder day. Fuck it, I don't know. Maybe I'll do rear delts, who knows? But no, I normally do rear delts on back day, so that's what I'll do. Again, more things. Experiment when you are losing muscle, for whatever reason why you're losing the muscle. What you can do is, because you are inevitably not really gaining that much muscle, or maybe you are, I don't know, I think I might be gaining some muscle, just regardless of this shit in the areas, as I keep saying. But I'm experimenting because, you know, I can't do what I normally do, so why not fuck around and try some new shit? And part of that is I'm not worrying about reps and just trying to get the muscle connection and trying new exercises. And for example, just then, doing the cable row from this angle and really pulling like sort of like a higher angle, I'm able to feel my upper back like I've never felt it before. Because I'm doing it unilaterally, and part of the upper back's function is scapular retraction. So I'm bending out like this, and then I'm pulling back and retracting the scapula, and I can feel my rhomboids, teres major, minor, all kinds of upper back muscles that I've been having a hard time notoriously feeling. And previously, I would do the higher angle ones where I do it like this, and it just wasn't quite cutting it. But then I find I come from this angle, and I'm feeling it. So through this period where I'm not being staunchly doing the exact same exercises over and over to be super standardized, I'm experimenting with things and I'm learning things, like potentially my arms are growing from doing more volume. I'm feeling my back better from changing the angles up, doing more drop sets, getting more of a burn because the back has less proprioceptions and less pain receptors. So I'm doing way more reps and just getting heaps of blood and feeling that muscle contract, and that could equate to far more gains come 2-3 months from now when I've accumulated more knowledge on what works for my body through this experimentation phase. Because when everything's going pretty well, like it was over the last bulk I did, you don't really want to experiment with anything else because it's like, why change what's not broken? But you can refine what's not broken, and what better way to do it than when you have nothing to lose, like when you're injured. You can't tell me my forearms aren't growing right now. There's no way. Maybe it's because I'm wearing long sleeves all the time and it exacerbates it, but I don't know. Definitely feels different. Even mid-set, I'm experimenting because I'm not worrying about the reps and sets and shit. I'm just worrying about what feels best biomechanically for stimulating the growth. Oh, fuck. Wow. Oh, shit. I like that more. Oh, shit. This shit where I like stretch it out and then I rotate and pull my ribs down, because part of the lats function is to put you into sort of a lateral flexion with the ribs, get my serratus. It fucking feels awesome. I wouldn't know that normally because I'd have no reason to experiment. There's a silver lining. And then I just finish it off with these. Yeah, there's a lot I could say about muscle wastage and how to deal with it. You know, if you're not injured, go learn how to fight. That'll make you feel more confident about something else. Make money, you know, move out of your house, put yourself in a situation where you become a man, whatever it is. If you're losing muscle for whatever fucking reason, level up in other areas. That's my argument against not taking steroids too, is if you're so insecure that you feel like you need to take steroids because you want to get that big, think about the fact that that shit ultimately won't make you confident. Being big helps a little bit, but you need many, many other aspects of being a man to feel secure within yourself, whether it be finding something, a higher power, so many different things. So that'd be really numero uno, but then also understanding there's seasons to life. Like, it's peaks and valleys, shit happens, and you never really think it's going to be you until it happens to you, and then you're like, fuck, it happened to me. And for some people that breaks them because they just never expected it to happen, and it only ever happens in their worst nightmares. And then when it happens in reality, these bad things, you just fall apart. And I've been there. I've had far worse things than a bicep tear make me fall apart because I just wasn't ready for life hitting me with something, you know. But that's just life. And an injury and some muscle loss is fucking peanuts compared to things other people go through. You know, this injury really doesn't mean a whole lot to me. I've been through far, far worse situations than a bicep tear. It's like, it just doesn't really matter that much at the end of the day. The annoying shit is not being able to do the things in life you really like, that really matter. Like for me, playing guitar is way more important than having muscles. It's it's a beautiful instrument that really reaps so much more reward than, you know, having big muscles. Like being fit is more important. Being healthy is more important than having big muscles. And I can still be fit and healthy right now with this bicep tear. I can still do cardio. I can still eat well. Those things are much more important than the intrinsic things. Or my want to go to the beach and take my girlfriend out for a nice bushwalk. I can't do things like that right now. That sucks way more than like not being able to have an 18-inch fucking left bicep. Like, and one day I will. And so it really doesn't matter. And if you're out there and you lost your arm, man, I really feel bad for you, because then there is no recovery for that. But there's a recovery for that in some other aspect. There's always a silver lining. So yeah, silver line your injury, silver line your muscle wastage, however it's coming, and understand that there is a benefit somewhere. I'm seeing plenty of benefits to this situation. And this is not cope, this is reality. I wonder if this feels better bent over. I feel like it will. Oh, that's right, I do these laying down, fucking idiot. This shit feels way better when you lay down. Oh, fuck, this is awkward. Oh, here we go. Yeah, that's right. Oh. Oh, I gotta be careful. I almost flexed my bicep by accident there. Do a mechanical drop set. Do a face pull. All right. Well, that's the chest and back pre-hit. I'll be honest, the chest doesn't get hit as good from these cable exercises. I like the dumbbell press. I think machine presses are much better. But I generally have a hard time contracting my chest and training the chest, especially when I'm like trying to stabilize one arm and shit. But the back feels immaculately hit. Plenty of things I'm learning that I'll implement when I can go back to both arms. No shoulders, don't have time. I'm gonna go watch the new Dune movie. One of the only movies nowadays that isn't fucking totally just goyed out, and pretty keen for that. Yeah, there's a few things about it that are a bit goofy, but closest thing to a live action Warhammer 40k adaptation we have too, which is cool. But yeah, have faith, you'll be back in no time for you guys out there who are injured or whatever. Or maybe you're just small, you're not injured and you just want to build some muscle. It's going to take time, but you'll get there one day. Eat plenty, eat healthy, do high intensity training, rest plenty, you get huge. All right, see you guys for more Piss and Vinegar. Bye-bye.